Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Fiction Game, a tabletop variety role-playing stream. Um, we're finally adding the variety to that this week. We're missing one of our players. Tom couldn't make it. He had a previous engagement, um, which, if you've ever been in a D&D party, happens probably more often than not. And that's just the nature of trying to find a time when five adults can do one thing at the same time. That's just how it goes because we're whole people even after the cameras turn off. But to salvage some of those times when one of us is missing, as long as it's not me, because I am still running this, I've created a number of what we're calling pickup games that are just games that we can play with less than the full party. That are usually either one shots or a very short series, or like this one, I haven't really defined exactly how long it'll be. Just a concept for a game that we can jump into, have a little bit of fun, and if in the future Tom can't make it to another week, then we'll do another week of this. And so I'll have a scattering of these so that if any one person is missing, then we'll still be able to play a game and send it out to you, whoever's watching. So, without further ado, I suppose I should finish introductions. I'm Jack, I'm the narrator, like always. With me are Hayden, Miles, and in the far corner from me, Sam. They don't know anything about the game we're about to play, and neither do you, so that's perfect. Let's get started. In a small college town in the American Midwest, 5 friends gathered each week to play a game of Dungeons and Dragons. 4 acted as players, narrating the actions of individual characters within the game world. The 5th friend acted as Dungeon Master and narrated the rest of the world. It was a good game, and the Dungeon Master was especially talented at making the game world feel real and inhabited and unexplored. Maybe too good. Because one fateful Wednesday evening, as the players set out on a new campaign, the Dungeon Master, whose name was, let's say, Jake, read them the campaign starting text, a dark prophecy that, according to Jake, was based on a real historical religion, a pagan faith that believed in the convergence of worlds. You can see where this is going. The prophecy opened a portal between the real world and the game world. Well, not a portal per se, as it wasn't localized to a single location, more of a rift. It pulled Jake back through and into the game world, and in return, monsters from the unplayed campaign began pouring into our world. With no Dungeon Master to tell them how to deal with these monsters, the players were forced to turn to their own devices, studying the Monster Manual, the Dungeon Master's Guide, and other pieces of real Dungeons and Dragons text to figure out what these monsters were, how they could deal with them, how they could close this rift. They were met with mixed results because, unfortunately, their Dungeon Master was obsessed with homebrewing and constantly added his own details, his own monsters, and his own world elements into it. And it was so far mutated that it no longer really even resembled 5th edition Dungeons and Dragons past the surface level. Everything was different. But having found some of their Dungeon Masters sort of scrawled out notes of ideas for campaigns and like things that he wanted to add to the story in the future, our players were able to start to get a handle on things. They started to know what these monsters were, what to do to fight them. Until one day, one of the 4 players, Tim, went off to fight a crew of kobolds who had taken up residence in an abandoned house. The house burned down in a tragedy that was attributed in the news to petty teen arson. The remaining 3 players knew better. Tim had sacrificed himself to prevent the kobolds from harming the outside world. Now we find our 3 remaining hapless players in the basement of Jake's suburban home, studying lore and talking strategy. Let's meet them. These 3 players are, of course, you 3. Let's try not to get too meta as you 3 create your characters, real people who have created characters to play Dungeons and Dragons.
Wait, just to clarify, am I a person who is creating a character and I become that character?
No, you are just a guy. You're just a guy who lives in a Midwestern college town in America who plays Dungeons and Dragons with a handful of friends or classmates or acquaintances. The campaign started pretty recently. Um, so, first question. It's a college town. I've built it around the assumption that you're all generally college age, but that's negotiable. Um, are you students? That's the first question. Let's go around. Hayden first. Do you think you're a student? And if so, what do you study?
Yes, I'm a student. This is my 6th year. I'm on my 4th major.
Oh,
And I am currently studying
I also have some suggestions, actually.
Yeah. Go for it.
So some suggestions that I thought might have fun tie-ins to what we're doing include mechanical engineering, European history, mythology, or literally anything easy because you're a student athlete. Although, if you've been there for 4 majors, I'm gonna guess that's not where your priorities lie.
I think I want to have maybe started in English and then like gone kind of through a few, but then I got really invested in a character that was based off Odysseus from Homer's Odyssey, and that is the character that I've still been writing. That's not the character I wanted to play because that character is not done yet. I'm just playing a cleric that's like throwaway, but I'm studying ancient Greek mythology to further my character in D&D.
Right on. I love it. I love that your character is immediately nuanced, that they've got multiple things going on. It's not just one major, and that you have like a specific tie-in to how into D&D your character is. I'm gonna give you a luck point, and this campaign let's use those because I forget about them every game. And based on their use percentage, which is currently 0, you guys do too. But without further ado, let's go on to Sam. Sam, is your character a student? And if so, what do you study?
Yeah, be a student. I will be a dual major in art history and communications.
Art history and communications. We've got 2 power nerds in here already. This is a compelling start. I like it. Miles, is your character a student? And if so, what do they study? Do not feel the need to be like, well, the other 2 said yes, so for variety, I have to say no. It's like you're a group of college-age people playing Dungeons and Dragons together. It's reasonable to say you met at college.
College dropout.
Right on.
Changed up to go and be a. I left college years ago. To go be a LLC GM, ended up getting fired, and now I'm a mechanic.
Okay, I like that backstory. I look forward to mechanic being relevant. Right on. Second question: do you have a job, and if so, where? Ideas include fast food, internship, TikTok influencer, or Uber driver. Sam, let's start with you this time. Do you have a job, and if so, where?
I'm going to say I have a minor in culinary arts, and I work at McDonald's.
You have a double major and a completely unrelated minor. That is powerful stuff. And I do like the idea of a culinary minor working at McDonald's. I will give you a luck point for that. Miles, you already said you're a mechanic. Anything else? Do you do anything on the side? Do you like your job?
Can I have a hobby as like a sushi chef?
Sweet. You're a mechanic who cooks sushi as a hobby. I like it. And hey, do you have a job? And if so, where?
I have the same job I had starting in my freshman year, which is I have the 3:30 a.m. Sanitation shift, cleaning the bathrooms in the library. and it's a big library at our campus.
All right. Right on. And we started with Sam's character for that one. Perfect. Student, job, done. Next question. Using 2 adjectives, what are some of your strengths? This will use to actually give you like some limited mathematical bonuses that will actually like apply to roles. This is a system that I've been wanting to use for a while because I think it's a very succinct way to define what a character is good at and what they're bad at. So the next character will be, or the next question will be 1 major weakness as well. But yeah, use 2 adjectives. They have to be 1 word or like a hyphenated phrase. And the more specific it is, the higher a bonus I'll give you. For example, if you say something like perceptive, that's good. I'll give it a +2. If you say something like hawk-eyed, that's more specific, and I'll give you a +4.
Also 2 words.
Yeah. The hyphen. That was why I added that, because of that example. I also think you could put it as 1 word. It would just be weird. Hawk-eyed? I think I've seen that before. Anyways, yeah, 2 adjectives. What are your strengths? Miles. If other people have ideas, feel free to chime in. This doesn't have to be like a
Pass.
structured. Yeah. Hayden, you got any good ideas for? Oh, you know what? In fact, while you're thinking about it, let me just give you some examples because I wrote up some examples for this. But some ideas of what you might pick. Some of these are broad and some are more specific, but could be strong, clever, resourceful, agile, sneaky, cunning, persuasive, that kind of thing. So yeah, if any of those sound good, feel free to take them. Or if you have more specific ideas, feel free. Hayden, you got anything?
Do these have to be good traits?
There will be a weakness one later.
Okay,
that's
okay,
also
okay,
yeah.
that's good. Um, and it just has to be 1. I'm trying to like go for a 3-pointer here, but it's tough to put Ken Jenningsley into a word as far as like my ability to retain like obscure knowledge, specifically of the Dungeon Master's Guide and Monster.
Sorry. First of all, a technical note. I'm hearing a little echo through Sam. Yeah, that's all. There's I keep hearing Hayden twice. But it sounds like it's fixed because I can't hear me twice, so you're fine. Ken Jennings, like that's a good little linguistic challenge to try and come up with 1 adjective that's that, and it's like crystalline knowledge, archive like, yeah. Yeah.
The keen mind feat in D&D, if we're getting like weirdly meta-technical.
Is that a bard thing? So this is a good note. This is a good note because you've just referenced actual Dungeons and Dragons, and I've just mentioned the narration that this guy's name is Jake, which is a joke because my name's Jack, and the missing player is Tim, which is a joke because our missing player's name is Tom. I would like to take this opportunity to say I know so little about actual Dungeons and Dragons. I had to look up a bunch of actual Dungeons and Dragons stuff to get like the lore right for this, because your guys' DM, Jake, is a fictional character who probably has more in common with Miles than me, but has even more in common with really rules heavy like game runners, but people who are all about the numbers and getting the numbers just right to make it feel challenging but not. Jake was like a fan of first edition Dungeons and Dragons and that kind of thing, so this is it's not me. So when I say stuff like Jake was really good at creating a world that you were invested in, I'm not giving myself stealth compliments. And when you bring up stuff like the keen mind trait in Dungeons and Dragons, I have a vague recollection of what you're talking about, but I'm so far from like a Matt Mercer type who could like list you the description for Keen Mind off the top of his head. So yeah, we can also come back to this because it is a very open-ended question to be like, you know, it's a great adjective that completely defines who I want to be. This right here. But yeah, if anyone has any ideas, now's your last chance.
You said it has to be one word with a hyphen in between?
Or it has to be one word, or it could be like a phrase that you could hyphenate. I don't know.
Should I do lucky bastard?
Do what?
Lucky bastard?
Lucky bastard. Yeah, I don't know what's different about that than just lucky, but I do like it.
He's lucky and people hate him for it.
That sounds good. It's also applicable to a bunch of things. So in fact, you know what? I like he's lucky, but people dislike him for it. If you want to make that your strength and your penalty, then I would love to give you essentially a +4 to luck and a -2 to charisma. Is how I'm gonna interpret that. Lucky
Can I
bastard
double
is a great
dip?
combo.
Can I double dip on this concept? MacGyvery.
MacGyvery? Yeah.
I make things out of nothing, but they're janky and single purpose.
I like that that's like resourceful, but very specifically with physical objects. Like it's not that you're it's not like you have a clever solution for everything. It's specifically that you like tinker with shit. That's great. I like it. Sorry. I will give you a +3 to MacGyvery. It feels more, yeah, very specific, but I like it very much. So, any ideas for you, Hayden? Any good adjectives coming to mind? If not, we can circle back.
Is this a second one, or do I not? Did Ken Jenningsley work?
Ken Jenningsley, I think we can abuse the hyphen rule a little bit because that's what it's there for. How would you feel about archive-like?
Yeah.
Sweet.
Let's say, did you go to thesaurus.com, sir? Excuse me?
No, Ken Jennings, the Jeopardy guy, who's really good at Jeopardy.
Oh.
Yeah. He had like a crazy streak. There was something like 140 episodes of Jeopardy that he won in a row. He also used to be Brandon Sanderson's roommate. That's a fun fact. Yeah.
Wait, Jack, you say we get 2 words?
Yeah. Everyone gets two strengths and 1 weakness, all adjectives. So far we've got archive-like for Hayden. I'm gonna call that a +3. We got MacGyverish for Miles, which is also a 3. We've got lucky bastard for Sam, which is gonna be a sort of +4 to luck and a -2 to charisma.
Second word, massive.
Like, is your character sort of Clegane like? Are you?
Yeah, dude. I'm like a high school, middle school Andre the Giant. Like, inarguably too big for your size, but not quite Andre the Giant. You know what I'm saying?
That's a great. I like that a lot because it immediately adds something visually compelling to your character, which is something that's very hard to do in like a spoken word medium. So, massive is great. I'm gonna give you a +3, even though it's basically like saying strong, but more evocative.
Wait, can I add the weakness right now too?
Yeah, absolutely.
Dude, it mixes with massive. I'm just hungry. Hungry's the word. It's just can't stop eating. I needed such a high caloric intake.
That is fantastic. I like the combination of massive and hungry. I'm also going to give you a luck point because I like the character that you've created. Right on. So MacGyver-like, massive, and hungry is Miles's character. And then so far we've got archive-like and lucky bastard. Anything else to add. We can also move on and make sort of retroactive changes. It feels a little bit like cheating to wait until there's like an opportunity in the plot for a skill to be relevant and then be like, I have that skill. But I don't mind that because it's only going to happen once. And honestly, if you had that skill, it would probably add to the storyline. So that's totally fine. Sound good? Right on. And then the final question. Remember your strengths, remember your weaknesses, and remember if you have strengths and weaknesses left to assign. But the final question, who did you play in this Dungeons & Dragons campaign that you just started with your friends or acquaintances all around you? It could be any Dungeons & Dragons class. For those of you as unfamiliar as I am with 5th edition, or as forgetful as I am at least, that includes Barbarian, Bard, Cleric, Druid, Fighter, Monk, Paladin, Ranger, Rogue, Sorcerer, Warlock, Wizard, Artificer, and Blood Hunter. Blood Hunter is technically a Matt Mercer original, I've learned, but your Dungeon Master Jake was a big Matt Mercer fan, and just lets you use the class, because apparently that dude's just knows enough about the balance to just homebrew a class that that Wizards of the Coast then publishes. They're just like, yep, canon.
I'm pretty sure he has like whole campaigns that are canon now.
Yeah, I think one of the settings that he did. I've got to actually watch Critical Role. It's wild. It's wild that I like. I run this game and we publish it on YouTube. Like, we're creating D&D entertainment, and I haven't seen very much of Critical Role. That's straight up like being a modern fantasy author and being like, Lord of the Rings? I'm sorry, I've never heard of that one. Is that new? I'm ignoring the foundations of the industry that we're pretending to be a part of with our 8 collective views. So
start at season 3.
Yeah.
Right.
For
Lord of the Rings has
Role? I thought you were making a joke about.
Role.
Okay.
No, sorry. Yeah.
That's also accurate for us.
Oh, that's true. Yeah.
Yeah, but that is a good note, because I do know that season 1 started like partway through the story or something. Yeah, but yeah, cool. Then I'll finally catch up on the Adventure Zone. Just a couple thousand hours of Dungeons and Dragons content that I personally need to consume. That's going to be a lot. That's why I keep putting it off. It's just monumental. Anyways, who did you play in the D&D campaign? Starting with Miles this time.
All right. Cleric, healer. Can I make up a whole character, or can I borrow ideas from previous characters I've made?
You could definitely borrow from previous games. This takes place in the real world, so you might as well pull on your real world experience. I also want to note, I think Hayden mentioned offhand that his character made a cleric character in D&D as well. That's totally allowed if you want to. If you were just double clericing it.
Yeah, probably I would have been like cleric healer. I'm gonna straight rip from another campaign and say that I was a full pacifist.
Oh, like you just didn't attack in combat?
Correct. I am exclusively healing, and I will do whatever it takes to maximize, minimize suffering and death in any scenario.
Right on. I gotta tell you, I don't... Look, it's been a long time since I got a group of people together to play like actual, real, honest-to-God Dungeons and Dragons by the book Dungeons and Dragons. Play stuff like this all the time where I'm just making stuff up and people are like, I mean, okay. But but the last time I played like a structured system was Pathfinder. And if someone joined my Pathfinder campaign and was like, oh, I don't do damage, I'd be like, oh, that's fun for no one. Cool. Is there like a trait for that specifically in D&D, or is that just something you decided to roll with for your character?
That's what I decided to roll with.
Wild. We don't have to explore that on camera, but I'm very interested to know how your companions feel about that, and how your DM has tried to handle that particular balance touch, just that little bit of spice. I mean, you're a healer, so it's not like you're a barbarian who refuses to hurt people. Sweet. Hayden, still thinking cleric? You can double cleric it if you want. I think
I am.
Sweet. I do want to add,
Yeah.
Again, the separation between me and Jake, I'm super not Jake. Jake would have been a little bit of a dick about this if you both insisted on being cleric. But he wouldn't have like barred you from doing it. He just would have been a little snide.
Like, oh, you guys just didn't want to have fun. All right, that's what you want for this campaign.
I think my character probably my wait. There's like 2 levels of character.
Yeah.
My human, jeez, this is not good. Would have been originally playing a rogue that was all like tricked out, like min-maxed to the like highest extreme. And then maybe when we were fighting like a dragon or something, we just couldn't do enough damage to it, and my rogue ended up dying despite having a dedicated healer. So he would have gone like all the way to the other direction and been like, fine, if this is the game that we're playing, I'm going to be a life domain cleric that's all tricked out, and I'm going to just be a better healer than you, just so I can show you, like, this isn't even how you play the healer class. Let me show you how to play the healer class.
That's so good, and it really does bring back memories of like a healer in Overwatch being so bad that someone else switches to like a main healer and someone else is like, I'm already Mercy, and they're like, no, you're bad is what you are. You're playing bad is the character that you chose. I've chosen saving your ass. Like that. I love the passive aggressive energy that we're already bringing to this fictional Dungeons and Dragons group, because I don't have to play in that fictional Dungeons and Dragons group, but I've been in enough that people are awful to each other that I'm like, watch it burn, baby. Let's do this. All right, I feel great about the direction about the energy we've created in the studio today. Sam, what character did you did your character play in Dungeons and Dragons?
I also have to be a healer at this point.
I love it.
The memes. Yep.
Right on. Let's see. There are multiple healer classes.
Yeah, I don't know enough about D&D.
I think the Artificer is like a healer, but not like a healing main like a cleric is. I believe that paladins also have a number of healing abilities, and Jake like homebrewed the shit out of all of this, and so it's reasonable for me to believe he had like domains for clerics or like specializations that would actually let you. I referenced Overwatch earlier, and I don't know why I'm gonna do it again, because it's not like it's a relevant reference in 2022. But
Watch different stuff.
What?
Overwatch 2 said no one ever.
Yeah. That looks like the best update that Overwatch ever had. 3 years post relevance. Boy, we really don't need to go into this.
Sorry.
I'm gonna rent us in just a little bit. Yeah, Jake had probably added like specializations to try and work around this kind of thing. And I reference Overwatch because it probably did feel something like having a Zenyatta and like a Brigitte. I don't know if that's how her name is pronounced, but like very different approaches to healing and some actual damage potential for the one of you that isn't a strict pacifist. But yeah, Artificer is a great healing option. Okay, again, I'm referencing this off of old. I haven't played an Artificer in 5th edition. I think I played one in 4th edition, and they had a lot of healing options.
I just Googled it, and I think I want to be a monk in the way of mercy.
Oh, very cool. It also means you have an all religious party so far for the 3 of you, like an all very. That's very interesting. All right, so 2 clerics and a monk. I like it very much, and I also like the idea of a monk played by a player who is extremely lucky. The idea of just constantly critting with your fists is very funny to me. So. Now this brings me to an interesting narrative crossroad, where you've got 3 healers and the 4th player in your party is an NPC. So I'm trying to decide who Tim played based on all of this, because I was just gonna fill with Tim. Oh, the echo is getting louder. It's louder than I am. Yeah, sorry. Yeah, you're good now. sorry to enforce like push to talk on you essentially. But such are the times we live in, or whatever. Technical difficulties. We've all got them. I'm gonna leave it up to the party. Do you guys think Tim also somehow played a healer with some damage output potential, or did he play the one DPS in your team of, or like the one tank, and all of your encounters lasted a crazy long time because he would take all the damage and you guys would just heal him? You guys think that second one is probably how it went?
He's probably a power player who goes through and picks up like the legendary item and then like tanks it out, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Gets the legendary sword, wants to go face a bad guy by himself, kind of thing.
Yeah, you guys are
We could be like a
playing
glass
Dota.
cannon, but we just constantly heal him back up so that it's like fine.
Yeah. In fact, you know what would fit? He could be a paladin. Paladins are also kind of healers, so it fits with the theme. You're an extremely religious party, and he could hella tank, if especially with 3 healers behind him. I'm gonna say that that Tim played a very tanky sword and board kind of paladin that you guys just kind of camped behind and, through all your heals at. That's wonderful. I like that. So our D&D party was 2 clerics, 1 monk, and a paladin who, even in real life, not playing Dungeons and Dragons, ended up sacrificing himself to save the rest of the party. Fantastic. Let's get into it. You 3, our players, two students of varying levels of academic obsession and 1 enormous mechanic, are crouched in an unfinished basement, reading scrolls by candlelight. Well, not scrolls, but yes, candlelight. Jake's unfinished basement. Jake actually owned like the home that he was in, and so it has become your impromptu base of operations for all of your sort of nightly monster hunting that has become essential as the convergence of worlds continues to place more and more monsters in your little college town. There's the candlelight. So the candlelight isn't like a necessity for reading what you're reading. It's just that there's only one working power outlet in this whole unfinished basement, and it is literally duct taped to the power cord of a mini fridge where Jake just keeps like 6 kinds of Red Bull. So illuminated only by flickering candlelight and the dim kind of humming bulb of this energy drink mini fridge, you guys are poring over no longer like just the original monster manual or Dungeon Master's Guide for all the different editions, which at this point you've pored over obsessively and know so many details of. You are now reading through essentially the scrawlings of a madman, put on loose leaf pages in what is over 40 plain white binders, like big 3-ring binders, where Jake would just put in more and more pages. He would occasionally date when he was writing it down, but he had this bad habit of putting in the paper and like writing through it all and then adding paper not to the back of it, but to the front. So it's this kind of memento-like where you're going forward in time and then jumping back to before that to go forward in time to the beginning of what you just read. And then it is...
I hate Jake.
Yeah, Jake is... Look, he always brought his A game to the actual sessions, but his brainstorming process was unhinged. You found all these binders not just in this like room where you guys would actually play Dungeons and Dragons by candlelight, but also like in his study where he just did cybersecurity work. Like largely by contract, and took like online classes pursuing his master's. It looks like he would just like, he had scripts to automate everything. He had scripts to automate paying his bills, to automate ordering food, and all of this stuff, and would just like press the handful of buttons he needed on his terminal that he literally, his computer doesn't boot up an OS by default. It boots in like this weird DOS like terminal that I don't know if any of your characters have the technical proficiency to like break down what he's doing with like an OS shell. or anything like that, but it boots so that he can like type in commands without having to go through all the trouble of like Linux actually launching. This dude was crazy, but it looks like he would do a handful of things and then just scrawl notes about the worlds in his mind into these crazy unorganized binders. And you guys, like Christopher Tolkien reading through his father's works, are just trying to parse any semblance of continuous story from these insane writings. I don't mean to insult the writings of J.R.R. Tolkien. I that's my understanding, is that his son is like just reading through all of this and trying to get like just piece together like a story from all the world building notes. So yeah, in the past, you have found useful details in these binders of what he called convergence events, which were like the planned, what happened when like the worlds collided and like monsters started seeping into the game world from a different game world, but it's now happening to the real world. Monsters are seeping in from the game world. You found info to help you predict when and where these are going to happen. You also found details on how to defeat dire creatures, which came in handy when you heard news reports of a wild dog that was straying too close to an elementary school. And from the sparse images that you saw in the news reels, you thought, that's too big to be a stray dog. That might be a wolf. It ended up being a dire wolf who you chased into this elementary school that it was prowling around at night. Like, you guys broke into an elementary school, killed a dire wolf with cold iron because of the notes in these binders, and then had to like clean it up before the morning when, you know, the children would get there. And you stole a handful of computers to make it look like a petty robbery. And it was low budget enough that they didn't have like security cameras or anything. But that's the kind of thing you've been doing for the better part of a month since these convergence events started. Truth be told, Tim was the best among you at the actual fighting part of it, but the lore masters remain, the people who have pored over these sort of tomes extensively and begun to piece together this world and what you're supposed to do about it. The night before, you had even attempted a reversal ritual that you found in the notes that was supposed to stop the convergence in the game world before it was too late. It involved a lot of chanting and the focusing of magical energies through a rare gem, and the drinking of a powerful elixir, and the thrice repetition of the hidden name of an elder god. It was high-level shit. This was supposed to be a long campaign. Of course, you didn't have a rare gem, a powerful elixir, or the hidden name of an elder god, so you tried it with a translucent D20, just sort of like a D20 that you could see through that Jake had, and some Mountain Dew, and you just said Cthulhu 3 times, just on the off chance that counted. It did not. It didn't fix anything, which is a bummer, but sort of predictable. What you're studying now. You were lucky to have seen the kobolds that Tim took out before anybody else did. And now you have to find a way to find the monsters as soon as they enter the world, because this is getting out of hand, and you need to be the first people to these events. You are scouring, the Jake's binders full of haphazardly scrolled notes to try and find a way to locate monsters. So, everybody roll me a d20 for what we're going to call a lore check. Let's get to taverntabletop.com. The in-house service that we use to roll all of our stuff. Let's use tabletop code, just like the number 89, I think should do it. No one else will be there. And I guess I'll turn off dark mode, even though it's going to hurt my eyes. I swear, I talked to the players about it before. We're working on developing a built-in dark mode, but the Google Chrome one, not great right now. So, yeah, everyone's going to roll a d20. I'm going to say our 2 students, very, very erudite. I'm going to give you each a +3 to this roll. I don't think that, and in fact, you know what? I'm gonna increase Hayden's to a +4. You guys are coming in with names, and this reminds me, we haven't actually talked about your characters' names. Do you have names? It looks like Hayden has chosen Caden. Is that your character's name? Powerful stuff.
Oh, boys, I'm coming back.
He's leaving and coming back.
It was Tavern 89?
Yep. Cam. Cam,
Hey.
all right. Caden, Cam, and Mike is a power party, and I don't think I'll forget which one of you is which. I won't constantly call one of you Cygnus when I mean Tenvik. Oh, that's an old reference now. That was a while ago. All right.
Yeah.
So, Caden, Cam, and Mike are poring over these. Yeah. So, Caden, I'm actually going to increase your total roll to a +5 instead of a +3, because with your Ken Jenningsness, I'm going to say you just crystallize information very thoroughly in your brain. Sam's +3. Yeah, which means you guys tie at a 17. An excellent roll. Miles, you can feel free to roll for Mike's lore roll if you want, but you've already rolled as high as you need to get everything. Yeah. So, because you rolled an 8 or higher, you find a note in one of Jake's binders that mentions that world convergence events cause changes in which stars are visible at night. So you can actually track what's happening by viewing the stars. You don't know if that would apply to this world because of the convergence, but it's worth checking it out once the sun sets. You guys can look at which stars are visible. You're probably 45 minutes. I define the town that you live in is like kind of suburban, probably 45 minutes from the nearest like major city. So not like way out in the middle of nowhere. But the light pollution isn't like to the extent where you just can't see stars in the sky at night. So that's great news. But yeah, after nightfall, maybe by tracking the stars, you can know when something or someone crosses between worlds. Because you rolled a 12 or higher, you additionally find a note mentioning how to create a dowsing rod. Which is something that will like point you to sources of magical energy, including monsters and convergence events. He mentions that yew wood is the most efficient wood to use for this, but a quick Google search shows that you cannot just go to Home Depot and buy yew wood, which is a bummer. You find a number of Etsy links where you can order yew wood for delivery in various artful forms. But that would be like 3 or 4 days out. They don't exactly have same day yew wood delivery from Maine.
It's okay. I'll use my coupon that I used because I also ordered a bunch of old silver rings to melt down and make silvered weapons. So I have the coupon.
We also order some like death spells while we're at it that you can find on Etsy.
Maybe they'll work now. I do love that, and I'm going to give each of you a luck point because I find it delightful. But I might have to start toning down the luck points because you guys are clearly blowing away the rolls even without the ability to just re-roll everything. Also, I gave one of you a +4 to being lucky. I don't know what I was thinking with that. Anyways, so yeah. You could try crafting a yew wood or a dowsing rod not from yew wood. He doesn't mention whether that's like completely ineffective or if it's just not as good. And because you rolled a 16 or higher, you find a very important note in one of these deeper binders, in one of the older ones when he first started plotting out this particular campaign. Apparently, you were your D&D characters were at some point in the campaign supposed to discover that convergence events were happening in a certain spiraling pattern, always focused on one end like location, and you were supposed to like try and stop the convergence because it was going to like land on some big important city that you at this point in the campaign were supposed to have like an emotional connection to because you knew people there and had good experiences there. You haven't even in the point of the campaign that you guys have gotten to, which like you haven't even gotten to level 2 yet, you have not arrived at said location yet. You haven't even heard of it. But yeah, he mentions this spiraling pattern and like the actual mathematical formula for how it's supposed to work. And it's supposed to be like it picks one place and then kind of like several events happen there before it moves on, and it's like a variable distance, so it's not just like you can plot it out and see what's happening. It's not really a graph paper thing, but with his notes you actually pin it down to a location in the real world based off of the previous convergence events that you are aware of. You don't know exactly where the Convergence events happened. You haven't seen one happen, but because of this, because of this spiral that you've mapped out, you can guess the vague area. And very, very fortunately, the area that it's in all falls under this one really big park nearby. It's this 84-acre park. It is called. Let me.
Lewis Park.
No, it is called Mary Beth Doyle Park. It's named after an environmental activist. It's so it's supposed to pop up some point at some area in here, and you can guess that it's going to be at or near this big park. Great news, because that's a location you have access to. If it plopped it right in the middle of someone's backyard, it would be pretty risky to like camp out there and just like wait for something to fall from the sky. But because it's a public place, and a place that probably there aren't an abundance of people walking around in the middle of the night, that's great news. It's great news because the last piece of information that you find tells you that gives you essentially the formula for Convergence event frequency, because Jake was all about like stuff not happening in like because plot demands it to happen, stuff happening on its own time, and the characters having to figure out like when it's going to happen and like work at the time scale that's kind of forced on them. The more you read of this dude, the more you think this is too much. It's too much. It's a lot. There's a lot of details in the binders, but this point of information, as long as it continued to be canon, because again, he hadn't used this notebook for like a couple of months, so he's been thinking about this for a while. But if it's accurate, it has already happened tonight, about an hour ago, according to this formula. So you know the location, and you know that if it hasn't happened already, then it will happen very soon. And at this moment, when you make this discovery, you hear a knock on the door. AAPD, the voice says. Now, this would be bad news, except for one thing. Mike recognizes the voice as his friend Kiki. She's a cop.
Okay.
Yeah. She knows that you play D&D at this guy's house sometimes. You have talked in the past. She doesn't like know about this crazy thing that's happening that no one would believe you if you told them. Yeah. Does Mike go answer the door, or do you guys like pretend no one's here?
Yeah, I would go and answer the door.
You open the door, and she goes, "Oh, hey, we're here," and she gestures to herself and her partner, who has just like stayed in the police cruiser and doesn't even turn to acknowledge or anything, is just like staring at like a game on his phone, just sitting shotgun in the police cruiser. And she goes, "Yeah, we came to follow up. There was another noise complaint from your neighbor," and she doesn't gesture, but you know exactly which neighbor because you've met him before. And you look over, and sure enough, Bert is peering his wrinkly old eyes through like a little slit between two blinds that he's pulled down, and is like watching you. And she goes, "I mean, you know the drill. He calls these in all the time for like the most minor inconveniences. I'm talking about like people's dogs pooping on their lawns, not his lawn, their lawns, and then them picking it up. So we just sent someone out to placate him, but you're not in trouble or anything. And I saw the address and thought that I'd pick up the like when it was just open on the line, that I'd be the one to follow up. I wanted to tell you that we're also still looking for your friend Tim. I think we'll find him, but yeah.
A poor man, Tim. Thanks for dropping by. We obviously really appreciate it. We know how hard you guys work. We know what you guys do. Sorry if we're causing any extra inconvenience today. We're gonna make sure we keep our extra special neighbor over there placated.
You got it. Who's we? You here with people?
Yeah. Just me and some buddies. We're off playing D&D tonight. We're actually probably going to be going off to the public library to check it out. To play and read up on some stuff.
Okay, you put a real weird emphasis on public library, but it's there, it's public, it's for you. So yeah, and she does like she doesn't turn her head to give away that she's looking over, but she does kind of look over at the neighbor. She's like, "Man, he called me for smelling, or he called us for like smelling weed at this house a couple of weeks ago.
What?
Weed is legal in Michigan. Like this dude's wild. Anyways, yeah, hit me up if you need any help. I guess good luck at the public library. Let's hang out soon." And she like waves goodbye and gets back, thumps into the police cruiser, and the guy you can't see what he says, but he says something without looking up from his phone, and she like rolls her eyes, waves at you again, shifts into gear, and drives away.
All right, cool.
Right on. So yeah,
That was way more wholesome than I thought it was going to be. Right.
What household items do you guys bring to beat to death whatever's coming through this portal, or did come through about an hour ago? It's approaching nightfall, so it's fine for you guys to go to the park. Probably not late enough for you to like walk into the park wielding silver-edged weapons. But yeah, what do you guys grab around here? There's probably a good amount of gear that you've gotten at this point, like to fight monsters. I think Hayden mentioned that Caden has ordered some silver rings to melt down and then make into silver-edged weapons, which normally I would have you make a roll for how well that turned out, but you've got someone in your party not only with access to welding tools, which explains how you generated the heat to forge silver-tipped weapons, but he's also got a skill that makes me think, you guys are good. You're set. You have silver-edged weapons. What exactly did you edge with silver? Did you also order like combat knives at the beginning of this thing, or do you have like golf clubs edged in silver and that guy like kitchen knives with like dipped in liquid silver along the edge and then sharpened?
I was thinking we just have in the trunk a baseball mitt and a silver dipped baseball bat.
No, I've got two things.
Okay.
Right. One, you know how it's a potato cannon. It's a potato cannon, but metal tubing.
I mean,
right?
you're in the American Midwest. If no one's making a potato cannon, what's the point of having all that space? You know what I'm saying?
That's right, dude. So that, and then also silver tipped Batman triangle blade brace things. Because it looks cool, and I'm nerdy. Deal with it.
He owned them before and they
just dipped them in silver. They're made of high class plastic.
Don't mind the stuff that I'm eating to fix my blood sugar. The production quality is very high, I promise. Anyways. What's right on. So you guys already have your monster hunting equipment. Sweet. You guys gather up your shit, get into the car. Quick question. This isn't really mechanically relevant. But you are college students. Who's driving and what car do they own?
Certainly not me, but I'm definitely going to be backseat middle with like my feet up to my head, like shoulders scrunched forward, like, and I'm just totally cool with it. Like I'm just vibing out. I'm just like, yo guys, this is such a great time, just hanging out with the boys.
Very nice.
I'll drive, and it'll be a 1997 Chevy Blazer.
Right on.
Mix it up with a Toyota Camry.
So yeah, you guys head out. Before long, you show up in Mary Beth Doyle Park. There are no signs of like flashes of light in the sky, no signs of like big hordes of orcs or something having already arrived. But looking around, there are like still people here. There's like parents with their children and people walking dogs and that kind of thing. So you guys play it cool for a while, and as the sun begins to set, less and less people are here, to the point where in this very large park, you do feel like you can start kind of surveilling more closely to see if anything's like hiding in the bushes or anything. Um, yeah, and you guys start to walk these like black asphalt paths that that dot this place. And you are deep in it enough that you couldn't be seen from like just passersby on the street and that kind of thing. When I'm gonna have everyone roll a perception check to see what you find. You are aiming to get a 15 or higher. Very nice. Right on.
That was close.
Yeah. Hayden notices something move. Oh, Cam notices first. Hayden notices something nearby the bushes. It's sort of like a sign of movement, but you don't really see what's moving. You start to walk towards it, and Cam puts out his arm and stops you. You saw that there was something, but Cam saw what it was and stops you and pushes you back and jumps back as the something reveals itself to not be far away. It's something large and almost completely translucent that is right next to you. As a 6 foot tall, 6 foot wide, 6 foot long gelatinous cube begins to move towards you menacingly. Now, this gelatinous cubes, just like pretty much every monster that Jake has gotten his grubby little homebrewing paws on, is a little different than the average Dungeons and Dragons gelatinous cube. You couldn't look up its stat line right now and know everything you need to deal with it. But you have been poring over these binders full of nonsense for a long time. So everyone also roll me a lore check. Same bonus as the last lore check. See what you know about... So Caden's is the highest with a 16 total. Caden does remember something about gelatinous cubes in Jake's like setting that isn't that common to normal D&D. The fact that this gelatinous cube is translucent means it is unset. Basically, a gelatinous cube is translucent by default, and when it's translucent, it is very resistant to damage, but can't do any damage. It has to become typed by interacting with a liquid, and then all of it will become a gelatinous version of that liquid. Apparently, since this thing landed, it has not gone into the sort of brackish pond water nearby, or it would have become a brackish cube. Brackish cubes are not resistant to damage. They can be damaged extremely easily, and their damage potential is crap. But certain gelatinous cubes can find things like magma before they become a certain type, and can become like a magma cube, which is devastatingly damaging. They can even become potion cubes, and there are alchemists in Jake's setting that raise gelatinous cubes until they get really, really big, and then let them interact with the liquid, at which point they become that type, and so they will mass replicate potions by feeding it a little potion, and then the whole cube becomes that potion. This one is untyped, which means it's hard to damage it, but you can basically deal damage to it for free because it can't really do much to you that like water couldn't do. So if you let it completely submerge you, you can like drown in it, but it won't like burn away your skin and armor, and it can't like shoot projectiles in this current state. But you don't want it to get near a liquid. It is, however, moving towards you right now. And while it's unthreatening to a D&D character, you do feel like, I could drown in that. I'm just like a guy. So yeah, what are your guys' immediate reactions as this thing starts moving towards your party?
Do you have any oil?
I don't know that you would know to have oil.
What kind of oil?
Vegetable oil.
No.
you're
Olive
a
oil.
mechanic, but you don't carry motor oil with you when you're driving in someone else's car. You don't just
No,
like have a
but we
little
do
tank.
have a
Oh, there would
car.
be some in the trunk, yeah.
Say there's just a car. I could drain a car.
My idea is we could turn it into an oil cube and then let it chase us to like a fire hydrant and then just
Ooh.
Water and oil don't mix though, don't they? Like you just
yeah, that was the idea, I guess. Because if we just, I guess I don't know. I don't know if that would work.
Yep. And that's pretty accurate to the whole situation. You don't really know what any particular liquid will do to it that wasn't mentioned by name in Jake's like description of it. Except you know that like brackish water be pretty easy to kill that thing. So you might be able to like cup some in your hands. You don't know how much it needs to absorb. You could get to the pond so that it can't chase you into there without becoming a brackish slime. Or you could just start hitting it, because damage you do to it right now, it'll keep that damage even when it becomes typed. So
What about Red Bull?
Turn it into
Ooh.
a potion one.
I am going to say you have some Red Bull. We did mention earlier that you were studying by candlelight next to a mini fridge of it. It's reasonable to say that at least one of you has a Red Bull in like a satchel or something.
That'd be easy to fight, do we think? Probably not any worse than brackish water, maybe.
True. Let's try it.
I say send it. Let's go, boys.
Right on. So, I'm going to have you make one last roll before... Actually, I'm going to have two things. I think this could only possibly occur to Caden. Caden, you're going to roll a knowledge check, not a lore check about like what's happening in this world. This is about real world knowledge. So I'm going to let you add like a +3 to it because your character is Ken Jennings. But Sam's character...
Natural one. Oh no.
Whether this has grave consequences depends entirely. Do also remember that you can re-roll it with a luck point, but it depends very much on what Cam's roll is. What?
No, I like it.
Cam, make a speed check. Bringing this Red Bull out, popping it, throwing it. This thing.
I also got a natural one.
With 2 nat ones,
It's fate.
Cam fumbles the Red Bull and spills it on the black path that you are on. A black path, which I'll remind you, is made of asphalt.
Oh no.
Oh
Is there
no!
something cool about asphalt?
no!
It's technically a liquid. This slime pushes its way onto the black path, and the whole thing becomes tumbling tar with black, like gravelly bits in it. It is a liquid asphalt cube, and it picks up speed as it barrels towards you. Everybody roll initiative.
Hey!
18, 10, 17. I'm going to roll slime initiative, or cube initiative. You each go before the cube. Looks like Cam first, then Mike, then Caden. What does Cam do?
I still think the fire hydrant might be a decent idea to blast it through. Is there one nearby in this park?
You're lucky. I'm not going to have you roll for it. Yes, there is.
Okay, I'm gonna grab these guys and start sprinting towards the fire hydrant then.
Right on. Yeah. You begin booking it, but unfortunately, it is at the end of the asphalt path. And as you guys book it, you realize this thing doesn't have the same acceleration as you, but it has a higher top speed. As it stays on this path, you hear as asphalt rolls across asphalt. It doesn't look like it's being graded and like losing surface area or like losing volume or anything, but it is picking up speed like a like an F1 driver along this path. And it soon gets to the point where you all need to take your turns and then it'll finish its action. But Mike, next. What does Mike do? Is there anything you do to attack this thing or to distract it so it has to go one way or the other?
Thinking, yeah, probably try and run off of the extra asphalt underneath it. Is it like gaining mass as it's rolling?
It's not gaining mass. It's gaining speed, but it's not losing mass, but yeah.
Do I have any extra spuds in the car? Can I go launching a potato cannon at him?
Yeah. Mike is heavy weapons guy, right? Mike is enormous. Do you think Mike was just carrying the potato cannon with him?
Just like lugging around, like get out of the car, put on my bracers.
Yeah.
Potato cannon, like.
I think it's reasonable to say that you have the potato cannon with you and multiple potatoes. Now, those are potatoes. They're raw potatoes, so it's not like you're launching a baked potato at it. But you're not sure how much damage it would do. Do you think that Mike brings lethal projectiles with this potato gun because you know that you're hunting monsters and just hopes that no, like, cop will look in his bag and be like, do you have a... I guess it's America.
Not.
You could have a gun. I don't know why I'm like a cop could get you in trouble for carrying a potato cannon and also a solid spherical object. You wouldn't get in trouble for that. I don't know what I'm saying. Do you think Mike has made custom projectiles for this thing? That's my question.
He probably would have saw that that really dumb thing that happened in Pirates of the Caribbean, and probably just brought a bunch of silverware.
Yeah.
That's probably it.
So you're saying that Mike loads up a potato gun with a potato to catch the air because it's got to be a vacuum, and then in front of that, a drawer full of silverware, and then he's going to shoot it at the road. Which, to be clear,
more than likely, he probably isn't going to shoot it at this asphalt monster. At least he has a potato cannon. What I'm wondering is, are there any like decent potato-shaped rocks around? And if not, could I create one nearby, like using tools nearby, smacking it with my giant metal potato cannon, possibly?
If you take the same approach you're proposing with the silverware, like you put in a potato to load it up, and then you just put a big rock after that, yeah, there's big rocks. You can do that. Is that what you do?
I'm going to try and do that. I'm going to try and like launch like a big rock, the biggest rock, heaviest rock I can find, and just like launch that sucker, see what lobbing one at it does.
Right on. Roll me a potato launch check.
Let's go, boys. 19!
Okay. With an incredible roll, let me describe to you exactly what visually happens. This projectile, even at this speed, can't do a crazy amount of damage. It's not like you're going to shoot a rock so hard that it shatters this cube of asphalt. But what Mike does know is that the structures are less resistant to trauma, like to damage at the corners. And so Mike aims at one of the corners, and just like Super Mario 64, blasting yourself at that corner and then it shatters into fragments, it's like that exact animation happens on the corner of this little asphalt thing as Mike blasts away like just a very small, like the chunk at the corner of this thing. He does not like deal enough damage to be hopeful that like, oh, we'll just need to do 120 more of those and then it'll be small enough that we can pick it up. It's not gonna do lasting damage. What it does do is knock this already very quickly moving asphalt block, throws it out of orientation with the path, and suddenly it skids like a car trying to regain its balance, falls off of the path and like flips over and slides leaving this huge patch of like it's torn up grass and sod and that kind of thing and just mud underneath, but it slides across and like hits against the sidewalk and is jarred, and it starts to move again almost immediately, but again very slow, very bad acceleration, and you guys are able to get to the fire hydrant.
All right.
Yeah,
Productive.
Caden, what are you doing?
How much time do we have? Like, are we talking like one single round and it'll be back to hitting us? Like,
Yeah, 6 or 7 seconds.
Okay. I, as a human being, don't know how fire hydrants open. So I think I
Mike
might have
knows
just taken a bat to the fire hydrant to try to open it in the direction.
Right on. Make a roll to do that.
I'm just panicking. 19. Dang it.
So
Just break the
Caden
bat.
aimed to do
basically.
was just hit this thing so that the fire hydrant comes off, like in Grand Theft Auto when you just run over
Right.
the fire hydrant.
Of course,
What
yeah.
he does works, but because he misses. So he doesn't hit it at the base. He hits like the part that's actually supposed to screw off, and it's so rusted from lack of use that he knocks it clean off, and an arcing jet of pressurized water does shoot into the air immediately. This thing continues barreling towards you, doesn't seem worried about it. Cam, we're back around to you.
Is the arc of water at like full power blasting out of it?
Yes.
Is it like in the direction of the cube?
No, it's
Is
just
it gonna
shooting
run into
straight
it?
up right now. The cube is charging towards you.
Okay, so do we have anything that we can put on it to try to flatten the spray towards the cube?
Definitely not. You need to do that before the water starts. So this is a straight up fountain now, is what it is, because you need to put a whole fire hose over it to contain it, and you can't do that while it's running.
Okay.
Fortunately, it's charging itself towards you.
Yeah, so let's back away, and so it's gonna run over the thing, maybe?
Yeah.
Sweet.
Worth a shot?
Yeah. You
If we
guys,
can keep running towards the car, that would also be good.
sweet. Yeah. It is on the other end of the park, not like diametrically opposed, but like you're along one side and it's along another side. But you could be running in the right direction towards it. So you guys start to book it away from this thing so that you keep a line so it has to go through the fire extinguisher. It building up speed on the sidewalk, not as much as if it was on the asphalt, keeps moving towards you, and its momentum barely changes as it snaps over the fire hydrant, launching it projectile-like towards you. Yeah. I'm actually even gonna say it doesn't like hit one of you in the back of the head or something. You just see it fly over your shoulders and like out maybe 200-300 feet and like clatter into the street in the distance, and you hear it coming up right behind you. Everybody roll to dodge this thing.
Oh no!
Oh.
A 5, an 8, and a 7. Anyone want to use a luck point?
Use one.
Okay.
Caden rerolls into 17. Cam rerolls into 18. Mikey, I think you've got one luck point. Do you use it?
Was that to me, you said?
Yes.
I think I'll use it, yeah. It only got worse!
So, Mike is in the middle. And as Caden and Cam jump out to the sides, Mike has to look back and forth and starts to go one way towards the parking lot, and then realizes that's asphalt and kind of does that like ankle breaker turn, like when you're trying to guard someone in basketball, and like twists and falls, killing his own momentum. And he jumps out to the side, gets most of the way out, but as this thing slams past, it doesn't actually, his leg doesn't get caught up under it because it's like a flat wall moving. But this thing hits your leg as you dive away with so much force that you feel it snap and you whip around like you're thrown into a spin from this thing hitting you. It is also now trying to recover from its speed because it was going in one direction. So it's going to take like 10 seconds for it to stop and then 10 seconds for it to get back at speed towards you guys. But Mike is down. His leg is broken.
Oh, jeez. Okay.
Boys, I'm not having a good time anymore.
Yeah. Do we know if gelatinous cubes like this have weaknesses, or asphalt in general has weaknesses?
I'm gonna say, yeah, roll a real life knowledge check to see what you can figure out about asphalt. And if you roll over 12, just look it up. Yeah. Okay, just look up asphalt. Let's find out together, shall we?
Weaknesses of asphalt.
If you heat it up, it just melts. But that's kind of it's kind of a strength. Oh wait, if you freeze it, it gets brittle, right? Like under colder temperatures, it's like more brittle because it's a liquid.
I have heard that that's why the roads crack like 100% of the time in Utah. Like it takes less than 3 years every time. But
yeah,
I've never looked that up to confirm it. So it could be one of those things that you just hear. What are you reading about asphalt?
There's a lot of ads for asphalt removal companies, so we might look into some of those.
Weakness for asphalt as the magic system isn't the thing you Google? What?
Yeah.
We give them a call.
Yeah.
This is an emergency. How do I destroy a 6 foot by 6 foot cube of sentient asphalt? It's speeding towards me and my friends.
Dude, at this point, like, we might as well in character call our city council and be like, help, help.
Yeah, seriously.
This is a whole other scale of problem for sure. I'm curious to know what you found out about asphalt's weaknesses, but everyone also feel free to make me a lore check to see if there's anything else that you know about gelatinous cubes.
12?
$20.
Oh, a nat 20 with the best lore bonus of the party is great. And I'm going to say... So Caden does know an additional weakness of gelatinous cubes. Once they've set, they can be reset, but they have to be completely submerged in the liquid to do so. Now, the definition of submersion is something that a sane person doing world building wouldn't bother to put down. But Jake was like, so the material conditions by which I'm defining submerging include basically the whole surface of each side of it has to be touching it. So technically, you could do it with a very thin film of the liquid all around. But the best thing to do would be to get it to run into the pond, or to maybe get it to like flip over and then run over the fire hydrant a bunch of times so that all the sides are wet somehow. It would take a lot to try to try and do that with the pond. Seems like your best choice for sure, and you know how to deal with the brackish slime because it's pretty easy. But you're pretty sure it already avoided going into the brackish water because it knows. Apparently, it didn't know about the asphalt, or it surely would have just done that before.
Yeah.
Are we in the sense that this thing is sentient? Like it's making decisions?
Yes.
Or is it more like animalistic?
Well, animalistic is probably a better way to put it. It is like intelligent, but not like understands speech intelligent. It like makes conscious decisions intelligent. Yeah.
Cool.
We try a spell to conjure up a rainstorm or something.
Unfortunately,
from the world.
When the convergence happened, the magic enemies and dangers entered. The magic powers did not. You're just a guy.
Yeah.
So yeah, let's try to lure it back to the brackish water. Because we don't have a saw, a jackhammer, a pickaxe, or a shovel, which are canonical, according to Google, weaknesses of asphalt.
So it must be submerged, and that requires it being surrounded on all sides by the singular liquid, correct?
Yes.
And are we nearby any... We're in a park, you say?
Yes. Yep.
Can I start scoping out sprinkler boxes?
Yes. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Do I get a roll for it?
Yeah, that's a great thing to roll for.
8.
I'm going to say you still find a couple. It's not like they're... Yeah.
Okay, I'm gonna just rip it open,
Sweet.
and then there's gonna be like 3 little knobs, and you just
Uh-huh.
you just turn them. You just turn all of them. About quarter, maybe two quarter turns to the right.
Miles, you are a real ass homeowner, so I'm gonna completely take your word for that's how sprinklers work.
Look, I'm not gonna lie. My dad did sprinklers for 20 years. I helped him on the job
Oh,
fairly
nice.
often.
Solid. Right on. Yeah, you break into it and start just turning it up. And this cube, as it is starting accelerating towards you guys, but it starts slowing down again and moves off of the sidewalk as you start to like snap all of these sprinklers because the water is like getting onto the sidewalk. But once it moves off, it enters the road asphalt, and it starts to like wiggle around, and it starts to just move away from you guys. Out it turns in the parking lot and begins accelerating towards the exit of the parking lot. It's just leaving.
Front row.
To the car.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Let's go to the car.
you guys run to the
Chase it
car.
down.
You outpace it at first, but it doesn't turn to like chase you or anything. It just starts to try and find its way out, zooms towards the exit, and you guys like jump in, slam the doors of this 1997 Blazer. He said.
It was my best buddy's car in high school.
Reverse it, skid out. You guys start to realize you made like a gunshot sound, and then now you're peeling out of the the parking lot. Like police are going to be here soon. And you guys floor it, fishtail it out of this parking lot, and follow this cube as it has gone out and then pivoted around and is barreling down this suburban sidewalk. You start peeling along, and there are houses on either side of you, some of which have their window, like light coming out from their windows. You have no idea how many people see you before this thing zooms up to what it apparently does not see, a manhole cover. And having transitioned from like asphalt to non-asphalt, part of it keeps moving really fast and part of it stops almost dead, and a bunch of asphalt debris flies off of this thing as only the core of it that got onto the manhole cover remains, and it loses the rest of it. And it being now basically a cylinder of asphalt crashes through the manhole cover and into the sewer. As
Okay.
you guys pull over, like the manhole cover, I mean, it's been shattered through because like tons of weight were on it. And you guys look down and watch the last of the conversion as this now completely submerged asphalt cube, which is a pillar now, becomes shit cube.
Well, I guess that's one way to
Yes.
solve a problem.
Let's just
Yeah.
leave. Like, we can go.
Someone else can deal with this now.
Wait. I have a way to light the potato cannon, right?
You do.
I'm gonna look at my friends and say, this seems like a pretty convenient way for this to go, right? We're also probably gonna blow up the city block, right?
Will it blow up? Is it that kind of?
Because of poop fumes? I don't think
That thing's like pretty. Have you guys ever seen those videos of people dropping matches down manhole covers?
Oh, I think
Oh,
that's
okay.
when there's a gas leak. Manhole covers start to
Oh,
you can start to smell gas around them, and they are like dangerous. So if there's a gas leak right now, yeah, you could detonate this suburban city block in Michigan. But
um,
sorry, I'm saying this like your character knows that because I know that. That it's a completely reasonable conclusion for your character to come to. Like, I've seen these explosions happen. I don't want to do that.
we should do something, I think.
Does it look like we can at least hit it now?
Uh,
Or wait,
you can
has it
still
come
see
out
like
now?
the
Is it-
solid. No, it's being pulled downstream.
Gotcha.
See, I feel like the waste treatment plant, wherever it ends up, it's gonna tear it apart anyways, right?
Unless it becomes like 1,000 micro like coolant solution oozes.
Yeah, you do know from the lore that if you chop it up into small enough bits, it does eventually, the bits stop being individually alive.
Should we just rush to the nearest sewage plant?
I mean,
wait
really, at
for it
this
there.
point, it's jump down the sewage, man. Like, it's like jump down the manhole.
Yeah, I don't want to follow that.
All right. In all this conversation, it has gone far enough around that it turns down a bend, and you're not sure if you could follow it anyways. And so that problem turned into a different problem, and that problem might take care of itself. And none of you died. So all in all, great.
Oh yeah, my leg's
monster
broken. Take me to
hunting
the
experience.
ER, dude.
Oh, yeah,
it's ER
wait.
time.
Yeah, let's do that.
The next morning,
I'll just be scrolling Twitter to see like if news like breaking news at the sewage treatment plant. Everything's gone to shit.
This makes me think of like those like shitty teen TV shows where like problem will come up, it'll kind of resolve itself, and then like nobody ever talks about it. And I'm like, as a watcher, like, what do you mean it just disappears? That's not how things work in real life. Maybe they do.
indeed, it's not. Fade to black, all white letters. Poop cube will return. ... But not tonight. Tonight it's hospital time. So, yeah, you guys drive your friend to the hospital. The next morning, Mike. Sorry, I had to remember your character's name. Mike, you wake up to a familiar face at your bedside. It is neither of your friends. It is, in fact, Hayden's roommates, Sebastian, who you've met a number of times before. You wake up and he goes, hey, so your friends, they went to meet some guy who, they said he ran a blog called, like, The Ring of something. They needed to talk to him about lore, they said. So they had me stay with you so that you would know what happened, because you were on, like, a lot of pain medication. Because you broke your leg jumping out of a car, you idiot. Sorry, that was not a friendly way for you to wake up. I shouldn't have added the you idiot part. The rest of it's true.
Okay. Nice to see you again, Sebastian.
Yeah. So then he goes back to
So?
reading his magazine.
Oh, okay. Well,
Oh, what? No, you
nothing.
no, you go ahead. Okay.
All right. Oh my god. Okay.
You
First off, can I ask Sebastian to leave me alone for a minute while I call my mom? I'm gonna call the boys and see first what's up. And second, if like what's the current update?
I'm gonna say you do that. In fact, you call them and they had just left Sebastian to give you that message, but you can still catch up with them. So you talk to the doctors, nurses, thank them for setting your leg and all of that.
Going to hop on my little scooter?
Yep, yeah, and they've actually got they've got you on one of those like big. It wasn't like a what is it, compound break? No, that's when it breaks the skin. It wasn't a full break. It was like a
a fracture.
Yeah. But they've got you in like, yeah, the whole one leg boot and crutches, and you get out of there and have your boys pick you up. They are all going to meet you're all going to meet a classmate of Cam's, by the name of, let me find him somewhere, of Vic. Yeah. We're going to talk to Vic, who runs a blog called The Ring of Gax that is about like first edition Dungeons and Dragons, historical Dungeons and Dragons kind of stuff. He has been in a game that Jake ran before, theoretically in this same setting. Vic is an asshole. You could tell as much from the DMs that you sent him through his blog, from the way he talks about like the game that he was in, but he keeps really extensive notes about all the games that he's in, and he has all these like world building notes from Jake's world. So you are meeting him at a local restaurant, and let me get this name right as well. Called Crazy Jim's Blimpy Burger. The crazy, it cannot be stressed enough, is spelled with a K. And you guys pull up outside of the greasiest restaurant you've ever seen and see their big slogan, Crazy Jim's Blimpy Burger. There's like this crest, it's very cartoonish, and there's a little quote that is like their slogan, like below this this like title, and it says cheaper than food. that's their slogan.
A genius. That kind of marketing would work on me.
You guys head into Crazy Jim's Blimpy Burger and see a short man with a bow tie, glasses, and a trilby. He and fully 4'11", sitting in like a corner booth, just tucked in, legs not quite reaching the floor. It is undeniably Vic. And you guys head over, and he closes his menu and says, my lunch companions, please have a seat.
Oh no.
All right.
Yeah, we do it.
So, he says, friend of Jake's, a waitress like walks up to take your order. He says they'll all have Diet Cokes. She goes, and walks away at this very weird declaration. And he breathes in deeply. He says, so, what can I do for you? And what can you do for me? He's still dangling his little legs. It's very weird. It's
Can I get you a stool?
I'd like to acknowledge, I feel like I need to every time I'm introducing an NPC, that like when they're leaving something weirdly in the air, like do I speak next? I want to be very clear that I'm not just doing a thing where I feel like I've said something funny and it's like time for you to be like, oh, well, I do this. The timing problems are NPC based, not narration based, to be clear. He's swinging his legs around and he starts to think about what he said and like how that sounds weird, and you already like talked over DMs to talk about what you wanted, and he goes, well, so, and he flips open his little messenger bag and pulls out like this instead of a white binder, he pulls out just like a stack of loose leaf paper with those binder clips on it, like the black Jimmy clips, that's what they're called, and the like 3 of them along that. It is his notes that he typed up after each session. He has printed them out, and it's sectioned into like this set, this. He shakes his. He's still shaking his little feet around. Sorry, I keep bringing it back to that mental image, but it's really the cornerstone of this guy's character building. So he like sets it on the table and says, So, I suppose you're wondering now, what a gesture of kindness, what a great thing for him for him to do for us for free. What can we do for him in return? Well, I'll tell you. So, I believe that Jake is planning something mysterious. I believe that he has been doing a lot of research into a particular ancient religion, and he says that like he's looking for a reaction from everyone, and then he like looks around at your eyes.
I'm gonna look at him like, what?
How much did we tell this guy through our DMs, by the way?
Oh, just that you are in a game that Jake's running and want details about his setting.
Then, yep, we just.
I'm gonna look at him like,
what?
wow.
He narrows his eyes skeptically. Says,
I'm gonna order. What kind of food do they have here? Any food?
burgers and fries. In fact,
I'll take like 2 or 3 burgers and like 4 or 5 large fries. Ding, and then I'll like.
The waitress goes, "Oh yeah, we actually we have we have a quint, like a quintuple burger."
I'll say 2 of those.
Yeah, and everybody else, and she takes everyone's like burger, sandwich, and fry orders. Yeah. The Vic orders 3 orders of cheesy fries and no entree to go with them. He's just gonna have the cheesy fries.
You know what? Get him a quintuple burger, and I'll just take it to go.
The woman like pauses just half a beat, but then nods like, "Yep, not the craziest thing I've seen today. Not the weirdest thing someone's ordered today at this place. Crazy Jim's Blimpy Burger with a K, cheaper than food." She leaves to and the Vic looks around and says, "I feel you judging me for my food order."
No, not judging you. I say as I order Jimmy John's on my phone to be delivered to this place.
Well, you know what they say. What's good for the Michigoose is good for the Michigander.
Oh.
And he looks around and no one responds. Yeah, which is you probably haven't heard the term before. Michigander is a term for a person who lives in Michigan, which is us. We live in Michigan.
Yeah, and what's a Michigoose?
So
Tell me that one, Magic Man.
Barreling ahead, he brings us out, and over the course of 3 plates of cheesy fries, he offers you a certain he makes an offer that is basically, I will keep sending you like 1 session of notes at a time. If you tell me what's going on in your game so that I know what is going on in his D&D game, which is the wildest, like, traded surveillance thing you've ever heard. And in addition to which, he has the full stack of printed notes literally on the table. With that information, does everyone agree, like, okay, we'll start making up what happens in these D&D sessions to convince him, and then we'll get these notes like one chapter at a time? Or does anyone try to just steal them?
I'll probably like start just talking until the cheesy fries come out, and then I'll just give everybody like a now.
Like once food gets there, we just nab them.
Yeah.
Right on.
Because I do.
Yeah, I agree. And as we run out, let's say we'll keep you posted on what happens in the sessions.
So, yeah, the fries get there, and he goes, "Ah, yes." And as the like plates are coming down in front of him, and he like picks up his drink so that she has like space to hand it. Mike, who's the one sitting next to him, just goes,
Yoink.
and you guys just start to walk out, and the waitress goes, hey, pay. And the short little man in the corner goes, and as you guys start to walk away, you flip it open, and only the first page is printed. He brought half a ream of just plain white printing paper, which I want to stress again. Your characters know that this is a life or death situation, that there are monsters actually spawning into the world, and that this information is vital. The fact that this guy heard you be like, hey, what is this guy's world like? And he brought like a trade agreement with like secret information and a decoy package is next level psychotic. And you begin to wonder, like, has weird magic shit happened in Jake's other games? Like, are there reasons to keep this information this secret? Or is this dude just kind of nuts? Like, does this dude just have a problem? But as you guys walk back to the booth, what?
Do we happen to know anyone else who's played in one of Jake's campaigns before?
No, and as far as you knew, Jake was just like a guy. He was just like a person, maybe a little too into D&D to be healthy, but he was like pursuing his master's and like getting and like had a full-time job and all this stuff. A little eccentric to spend that much time just like obsessively writing about the like fictional worlds and to automate everything. Actually, that's an exaggeration. I'd automate everything if I wasn't dumb. That would be awesome. But yeah, no, this dude is crazy. As you guys walk back, he says, I don't mind telling you, you're not the first to come to me about information about Jake's worlds. There are many other dungeon masters who want to steal his secrets. And you think, no, that's not the case. Something else is happening here. But either way, does this guy really need to know that something else is happening here? He seems to be onto something with the whole ancient religions thing, but now it sounds like he's just like, and that's a really good world building note. I think people would like to steal that from him, like proprietary information. This dude's all over the place. Yep. But eventually he does agree to like start sending you chapter by chapter of this session in exchange for your descriptions of Jake's sessions. A strange man, nonetheless. Eventually you leave Crazy Jim's Blimpy Burger with 3 chapters of notes from this small psychopath in exchange for your descriptions of the 3 sessions of this campaign that actually happened.
Nice.
There was like a previous campaign with the same characters, except you were playing a rogue, it sounds like. And so yeah, you guys have known Jake for more than like 2 or 3 weeks before all of this happened. But yeah, just like that, you guys head out of Crazy Jim's Blimpy Burger with the information necessary to get an additional +1 on all future lore checks, because you have more information about Jake's weird shit. And with that, we're gonna call it for tonight. Thank you, players, for coming to the first pickup game of this new campaign. I think we're gonna call it Convergence. That's the whole theme. That describes the whole. Anyways, we'll probably play this again if in the future Tom can't make it one week and everybody else can.
Or if I can't, because I've got a broken leg and I have a reasonable excuse to stay home.
That makes sense too. Either way, thank you for coming, audience. You know, this was a really fun session. This is the first time that I've been deeply enough into it that I've forgotten that we're like recording this and that people might watch this. I'm looking at the on light next to my camera like, oh yeah, that's a thing.
Nice.
Sorry, audience. Forgot you were there. Thanks for coming. See you next time if we do this campaign again. And if not, then we'll see you in much more entertaining and well thought out campaigns. Bye.